what the city is talking about.
The news that impacts you.
Welcome to the Montreal Now podcast
with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Welcome to another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and this week we'll look at these stories.
People are always riveted by mafia stories, it seems, especially when they're happening in real life, not just in the movies. So Montreal has seen a surge of mob activity lately following the shooting of Leonardo Rizzuto, son of the late mafia boss Vito Rizzuto. We spoke to a mafia expert about what to expect next.
Scroll through enough TikTok or YouTube videos, or just simply even walk down the street these days, and it's hard not to wonder why so many of us have lost our sense of civility and respect for others. What's brought it on, and can we ever go back to showing some empathy or understanding? That's what we asked our audience. You'll hear some of their reactions coming up.
What does a transgender TikTok star have to do with plummeting sales of Bud Light beer? A lot, it seems. And how the company has handled the backlash only did more damage. Can it be undone? An LGBTQ plus marketing expert fills us in.
But we begin with this. He built one of Canada's most successful businesses, and now, at the age of 90, he thinks he can help others do the same. But it will involve a major culture shift. Frank Stronach on what needs to change in business. I want to touch on what you were talking about the other night at the University of Toronto, because you'd think at this age or this stage in your life at 90, you might maybe consider sitting back and watching what you've done sort of evolve and taking a lot of satisfaction, pride in what you've done. But you're saying we need to make some changes. And you pointed to one thing, and I hadn't heard anyone talking about this in the business world in a long time. You did this in your own company. You say other companies should do the same, and that is profit sharing. Why do you think that's so important?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's keep it simple. We all agree, all the politicians agree, if the economy doesn't work, nothing else will work. We agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You cannot feed the hungry. You cannot look after the most fragile ones, the elderly people, the sick, and the handicapped people. So we don't talk about it. What drives the economy? We don't talk about that. The economy is driven by three forces: smart managers, hardworking employees, and investors. All three have a right to the outcome, which is profits. We gotta understand, workers have a moral right to some of the profits they help to generate. Let me refer to Magna now. Magna is more than a business. Magna is a culture. We call it the fair enterprise system. The basic philosophy in fair enterprise is the human charter of rights alone is not sufficient. We have to fortify it with an economic charter of rights. Economic charters of rights will lead to economic democracies, and economic democracies are the basis for democracy itself. You need profit sharing. Workers must have a right. You know, when I put in the corporate constitution saying workers got to get 10% of the profits, the first year we were up 40% in the profits. The second year we were up 100%. The third year 200%. When workers know they get a cut, they're on the front line. They know what has to be done. So we better start thinking in those terms.
So can I ask you then, you make such a good point and such a proven point in the case of your own business. Why do you think this is being neglected now by businesses today?
Well, it's a bit stupidity and a certain amount the greed factor.
Okay, so greed and stupidity, factor. Two pretty bad reasons there. With smaller companies, it's not necessary. In larger companies, you have institutions. You haven't got really an entrepreneur. You haven't got a creator. You haven't got. It's run by institutions, so they haven't got an affinity for employees. Okay, so when you talk about establishing an economic charter of rights, government should do this. How should this work, and what would it include?
Well, of course. Basically, I'm saying the human charter of rights alone is not good enough. We got to fortify it with an economic charter of rights.
And what would that economic charter of rights be? I mean, what would it include? What would it mandate?
Well, the economic charter of rights would be, let's say, a company over 300 employees that 20% of the profits got to go to the employees. It's got to say you got to balance out. You cannot the bureaucracy take so much money out of the economy. That means, and you got to pay back the debt. You need balanced budgets. That's all part of an economic charter of rights.
Okay.
So power, it sounds to me like power very much comes into play too, and wanting to keep people in that lower position. Mr. Stronach, I'm wondering, you're a self-made man. You, as Aaron said, you came from Austria in 1954. Your stuff, your life is the stuff dreams are made of, movies are made of. Is it still possible for someone to do what you did? Can an immigrant come here and make those dreams come true the way you did?
It would be very difficult because the bureaucracy cannot do it 300%. It's incredible the way. So thereby, in a corporate charter, in a economic charter of rights, you gotta balance things out, huh? You see, we gotta get back to the economy functioned great from 1980 till 1990. We had there was workplace safety, there was environmental safety, there was everything around. And we had, and our bureaucracy was it's 300% higher now.
So you're saying, if I'm reading this right, that red tape is responsible for having slowed down the economy after those 10 years when things were going so well?
Yes, you have red tape, and we, look, what happened was Wall Street was pushing business, you got to make more profits. And the unions were pushing on the other side. We wanted higher wages. So business took the easy way out. They went to China. Mm-hmm. There's not made anything. We gotta get back where we start making things.
We have to wrap up. I will ask you one last thing as I hear you talk about this. So would it be fair to say you think businesses and people running them became much more greedy since that time when the economy was rolling? Has that been a big problem?
No, there was always greed. We are Homo sapien is born with a greed factor, but greed is not. Okay, you got to think about it. And when you share, you will make more monies.
All right.
The role model I set down, we made more money. So I told you how much our profits climbed when employees knew they got a portion of the profits.
Mm-hmm. It makes so much sense.
Sure does. You kind of wonder if we will ever get to that. Mr. Stronach, I wish we had more time. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Call me back. Call me back if you want to know more. Okay?
We'll absolutely will. Thanks again. We appreciate it.
All right.
Take care. Frank Stronach from Magna International. Gotta love take in the 90 years worth of wisdom that he has accumulated, huh?
That was...
Wow.
Informative.
Interactive.
And always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
People are always riveted by mafia stories, it seems, especially when they're happening in real life, not just in the movies. So Montreal has seen a surge of mob activity lately following the shooting of Leonardo Rizzuto, son of the late mafia boss Vito Rizzuto. We spoke to a mafia expert about what to expect next.
I did want to point something out. I'm not sure what the fascination is. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but when we do crime stories here, when we had Pietro Paletti, the former Montreal police officer who had worked, in the gang squad for 30 years, that thing blew up on our website. I think Brian said we're over 1,000 views, or listens, if you will. When we did a podcast for the Gazette for the Corner Booth where we had Mr. Paletti on, it's now at 103,000 views. Mm-hmm. And when you sit back and you're wondering, why all this interest? What's the deal here?
Fascination. It's an unknown world.
Yeah. And you find out a lot of things you either never knew. And, when a woman was shot in broad daylight, a lot of people looked up and said, wait a sec, we kind of thought things had quietened down. And that's clearly not the case. Mm-hmm. Then Francesco Del Balso gets killed 2 or 3 weeks ago. And now 2 arrests in the Leonardo Rizzuto attempted murder. I guess we can say that. Mm-hmm. He's survived. Antonio NICASO is a Queen's University lecturer and expert on the Calabrian Mafia. He's on the line. Mr. NICASO, thanks so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Let's begin with these 2 arrests. It didn't take, all things considered, that long. This happened in March. They're now been arrested and charged, and here we are only a couple of months later. What do you make of that?
But the consequence, this investigation led to the arrest of these 2 men. We know very little about them. One of them is an alleged member of powerful street gangs. Le Rouge, the blood. Another one was always with them. They both attended the funeral of Del Balso, and also one of the two had previously attempted to kill another member of the Rizzuto clan in 2016 and had been sentenced to 3 years in prison.
So we do know a little bit about them in terms of, you mentioned, I think we both kind of sat back when you said they both attended Del Balso's funeral. Mm-hmm. So they're obviously well known to police? Yes, they were well known to police, especially one of them, Kevin Rochebron. He was, as I said, involved in another attempted murder in 2016, and he spent 3 years in prison. So an obvious question, I guess, would be, where do we go from here? Is this the end of it? Are scores settled, or what? If the two men arrested a few days ago act on behalf of Del Balso, the game could come to a close. But if other individuals plan the attack on Leonardo Rizzuto, the game becomes more complicated. It's a power struggle, and we know that began in 1974, resumed in 2006, but still has repercussions to this day.
Okay, and what do we know? You know, we always hear about different factions, if you will, and the Hells Angels being involved. Has that name come up in these circumstances?
Everyone noticed Mr. Martin Robin's presence at the Balso funeral, and Robin is considered one of the most influential figures of the Hells Angels in Quebec. So apparently Del Balso had a good connection with some street gangs, and he could also rely on influential connection among the Hells Angels. But we don't know if they were involved in the attempted murder of Mr. Leonardo Rizzuto. All right. I'm trying, there's so much we don't know with respect to, what family connections run deep, which ones don't. Can we say these are, because I know when we talked to Pietro Paletti, the idea was, beyond the Italian Mafia, there are a lot of different gangs now that have emerged, certainly in this city. Do we assume that they're also trying to gain some of that power from the Italian Mafia? But let's say that Vito Rizzuto managed to create a consortium, a kind of a strategic alliance between the mafia, the street gangs, Hells Angels, the Irish mob. After he passed away, no one was able to keep all this group together, and I think this is all about money and greed. So everyone is trying to make a move to get more power. So that's what Del Balso tried to do.
Okay, and how does the murder of Claudia Iacano factor into all of this? Because we've heard that there is an unwritten rule that you don't when it comes to women. So what happened there, do you think?
But we don't know if Claudia Iacano murder is related to the Montreal Mafia. We know that she was related to a senior member of the Rizzuto clan, that was killed in Mexico because he betrayed Vito Rizzuto. But we don't know if that murder is related to the Montreal Mafia or to something different. All right, it's fascinating always to hear this and try to understand what exactly is going on. Antonio NICASO, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Natasha.
Thank you so much.
Informative,
interactive,
and always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Scroll through enough TikTok or YouTube videos, or just simply even walk down the street these days, and it's hard not to wonder why so many of us have lost our sense of civility and respect for others. What's brought it on, and can we ever go back to showing some empathy or understanding? That's what we asked our audience. You'll hear some of their reactions coming up.
Why you gotta be so rude? Don't you know I'm human too?
Why you gotta be so cruel, so mean, so short-tempered? Where did manners go? That's what Natasha's asking today, and I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, we want to know.
We've all noticed it, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you haven't noticed it, please call us and tell us, because it seems like everyone is feeling it. And we talked to an etiquette expert who said that this kind of behavior is contagious. So if you're rude, other people tend to be rude as well. If you're polite, other people tend to be polite. So we're wondering, did the pandemic make us forget our manners, our decorum, and just that basic sense of being a decent person? What have you noticed? And do you think we can go back to how we used to be? Do you blame Donald Trump like Aaron does? Do you find people just aren't as polite as they used to be? Can we change this behavior?
I hate to have to make an excuse for that's what I think. I do believe that's where a lot of this started, way back,
you're right?
And I give those examples, and I think we all remember them. Yep. I was reading a piece the other day, which I thought was fascinating, because let's face it, when he was running in 2016, or just before that, I guess, and he did that thing where the reporter asked him a question, remember? And the reporter had a physical handicap, and Trump mocked him publicly. And I thought, oh, there's no way anyone would consider voting for a guy like this. And it only got worse and worse and worse through the campaign.
Let's talk about the Access Hollywood grabbing incident. You're like,
again,
this is over. This
done.
Can't. No. People loved
And I think what I said, I think that gave people license to say, hey, if it's good enough for this guy, celebrities running for president, then surely I can do the same thing. I think that's what happened with Donald Trump.
And then I think it just got worse. So there was a great one here that says, people got so used to being alone during COVID, they don't remember how to act in public. People are now stuck in their bubble. It's made society all the worse for it. Things will definitely get better over time, but it'll likely never go back to how it was before COVID. Also, this texter adds, Donald Trump has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, okay. Listen, we can agree to disagree, right? That's the whole idea. Donna, what do you think? What's your situation here?
My situation is I've turned into a monster. I used to be a patient, kind person, and now the Illatord Bridge has got me a raging lunatic. I'm losing my you-know-what all over the place. Yeah. And I'm not as patient as I used to be. Pre-COVID, I was so different, and now I won't start something, but if something gets me going, I'm really going.
I feel you, Donna.
I love this, and it could be the Illatord Bridge. It could be anywhere having to fight that construction or God knows whatever every day. Do you blame social media for any of this?
What I blame social media for is, for example, on Facebook, on a general page, not a personal page, people are so mean and they bully, and then they wonder why kids are bullying. It's just, social media just brings it to the forefront. And then now everybody's just doing it.
See, that's exactly what I think, right? Yeah. It makes it right. One person does it, then two, then five, then 100, then 1,000. It's a course to some degree.
It's contagious.
It's how they program social media, right?
Yeah.
What do we call them? I forgot what that word is. The
influencers?
No, the fact that they have
algorithms?
The algorithms that then send you that same stuff from other people because they figure you're interested in this, and that only makes it worse. But that's just me. Donna, thank you for the call. Andrea, what about you?
Well, I think it's definitely contagious, both. The good stuff and the bad stuff. And for some reason, at least I know I am affected if someone closes a door in front of my face, and I know how I'm going to feel after, like just that reaction. The same time when someone opens the door for me, and it's like, wow, like what a nice world. Yeah. This morning, I had to go to the Vendôme Metro, and
okay, Andrew, we're losing you on the phone. You were going to the Vendôme Metro and what?
I went to Vendôme Metro, and I needed a refund. And I was in a long line until I got there. But that's okay, and I'm doing my thing, and then slowly a line keeps building behind me. And I hear people frustrated. So I just turned around, and I smiled, and I said, apologized to everybody. I said, I'm really sorry about this. I think it's going to be finished soon. I mean, it wasn't up to me. It was up to the guy behind. And I just saw on their faces, like I kept looking back, and I saw smiles on their faces.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow.
That's why just hearing this, this topic that you're speaking about, it just, like, I felt good after, even though I know that they were waiting and the person behind me was joking. And I know I heard their frustration before.
I love that you took it upon yourself
too.
to apologize for the slow service you were getting in the metro station.
And that then in turn improved people's moods. They're like,
weird is that?
okay, look, she feels bad about it. She's we're in this together.
Andrea, great call. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
How about that? Bob, what about you? What do you think?
Well, I'll be honest with you. You guys have said it all. But I have to say something that just happened to me today. I drive handicapped children. I'm retired, and I was down in Laval, and I was waiting. I came up to this gentleman, and I said, listen, I got to renew my license. And he says, well, you go in that lineup, and we're going to take care of you. I go, all right, thank you very much. This was at 12 o'clock. So I bomb into the line. People are waiting. I'm saying, like, man, I'm not going to get out of here before supper time. So anyways, this nice lady comes after 2 hours and goes, well, what are you here for? I said, well, I'm here to renew my license. She says, well, you don't have to be here. I said, I beg your pardon? She says, no, we're going to mail it to you with your ancien photo. And this poor lady was taking so much heat from so many people. I just said, you know something? I wish I would have met you 2 hours ago.
Yeah,
and
really.
Thank you, and I left.
Good story. These are great.
I mean, it was I think what you said was right. I think we're so used to getting something now that if you don't get it now, you blow your stack.
Yeah.
As far as the other thing is, I'm totally against cell phones. We need to manage the cell phone and not let it manage us.
Ooh, well
and
said.
that's all I have to say.
Bob,
Great
thank you
call,
so much for
Bob.
the call. These
These
are
are
all
great.
terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a sec. Let's go to Carl here. Carl, you disagree with me, right?
I disagree with you. But I appreciate your comments, though.
Okay. And you disagree with what part?
I would disagree with Donald Trump. I would say that it's not just one man that can be blamed for all the bad, if you want, in society. Let me put it this way. I agree with another caller as well. She said, it's true that, how people behave, it can certainly affect others, right? Good or bad. But, I think, what about those other people who don't follow Donald Trump? And why are they behaving so badly? So I don't think it's Donald Trump only. And I also think of cancel culture as well, which is much greater. Now, I'll just tell you something a little bit really quickly, Aaron. Is that I'm a pastor at a Chinese Baptist church here in Montreal. And so I see, there's no peace. I totally agree with you guys. There's no civility. There's less civility, less dialogue, less love.
And why do you think that is, Carl? Because I want to grab some more calls. If you had to judge why that would be, what would your rationale be?
What's the root cause? Yeah.
I would say because there's no peace in society, because there's no peace on the inside. We can get frustrated on the Ill-Tort Bridge or whatever issues that come our way because we don't have the peace on the inside, and so that doesn't show up on the outside how we treat one another. So we have to go back to the basics. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Those things are. How do we do that?
When did we lose that, though? Right, that's kind of the question here. I think, Carl. Thank you so much. Very interesting perspective.
These are
absolutely. Manny, go ahead. Tell us what you think.
Okay. I was in a restaurant in Hudson. A couple walked in their 30s. They sit down. They don't talk to each other. They were texting.
Yeah.
When you and I were kids, we were able to deal with 10, 15 kids at a time with our friends. Today, kids cannot deal with more than one person at a time because of the computer and because of the cell.
You're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
You are onto something.
Okay. These are great and all valid, I think, right? Which is the most interesting part of this, right?
Cell phones have genuinely changed people, and especially kids, the next generation. He's right. They get overwhelmed.
Let me take Nick here. Nick, what do you think?
Well, hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, we have traffic jams. We have jams at the airports. We have jams at the SAAQ. We're getting taxes higher. Bike lanes are clogging our parking spots. And you think it's Donald Trump that's to blame for our negativity?
Not for the parking lots. I take him. I take
Or
no
the bike
responsibility. He
paths.
takes no responsibility for the bike pass either, Nick.
No, but
I'm
just
talking in a much more
exacerbate,
general sense, right? The idea that it's suddenly okay to mock somebody with a physical or mental handicap as if, you know what? Yeah, everyone will think this is a real big joke. But you know what? Most people don't. I just think, as I said, I think doing something like that in the position that he was in, it gives people license. They look at him. I don't know how to make it simpler than saying, hey, if it's okay for him to do, then I guess it's okay for me to do. he's running for president.
It made bad
That's what I
behavior
blame Donald
acceptable.
Trump for. Exactly. That's exactly what it did. Nick number 2. Nick, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Pretty
guys?
good, you.
All right. No, not too bad. So
Okay.
this is my thing. Yeah, I agree with you on the handicap stuff. That's disgusting. But let's be honest. We've become an overly sensitive population. So when you tell somebody the truth to their face, they become all offended. Everybody wants to hear the truth until you tell them the truth. That is the problem with society nowadays. So people are going to go out there and think that they're a 10 when they're posting stuff on social media. Guess what? You're not a 10. You're maybe a 3. You might think you're a 10, but you're not.
But why do you need to
All right?
say that to someone? Why can't you just
Because people need to be told the truth.
And is it your business to be that person to tell them the truth?
Yes, if you put that stuff on social media, you open the door for everything.
Sure you do.
That
Yeah.
is the way it is.
That's
That
part
is
of the
way
problem.
that it is. No, that's not the way
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you why it's part of the problem, Nick, is because when you do it, even if that's what you want to say, that's your truth, other people are reading this and thinking, oh, well, Nick says like that, so I guess I can say what I want to say too, even though you probably shouldn't be saying that kind of stuff in front of somebody. If you have, that old expression, if you have nothing good to say nothing? That's what it's supposed to be. Sure, it works. It's worked forever, Nick.
No, the
Nick.
golden rule is if you have the gold, you rule. That is the way it is.
New
guys.
rule. New rules now.
Sorry.
Okay.
No, there's no new rules.
What's the rule, Nick?
It's very simple.
Yeah.
People are too sensitive, man. People, toughen up, guys. Toughen up.
Okay,
Our grandparents went through hell to give us freedom is not free.
But they were polite, Nick. They were a very polite and civilized generation who treated each other with kindness and respect.
Yes, but when they had to put down the rules, they put down the rules. Nowadays, you try to put down the rules with kids and with other people. Everyone is so hypersensitive.
Okay, well,
My
look.
heart goes out to teachers.
Okay.
Because you can't tell kids anything.
I can't disagree with him. I think there is truth in that. Nick, Angry Nick, thank you for the call.
Informative.
Interactive.
And always interesting.
This is Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
What does a transgender TikTok star have to do with plummeting sales of Bud Light beer? A lot, it seems. And how the company has handled the backlash only did more damage. Can it be undone? An LGBTQ plus marketing expert fills us in. So for the first time in more than 20 years of being the top selling beer brand in the States, Bud Light sales have taken a dive. Now, why is this happening? Well, it just happens to coincide with a transgender social media star endorsing the brand. Here's a little bit of a TikTok video posted by Dylan Mulvaney.
So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it.
So there you go. The transgender TikTok star in that video is dressed like Audrey Hepburn, and to say that there's been some backlash would be a major understatement. Stars like Kid Rock have posted videos of themselves shooting Bud Light cans, claiming they will never ever drink the beer again. Sales have plummeted. What happens next? Let's talk to Scott Knox, founder of PrideAM Advertising and Marketing. He joins us now. Thank you so much for your time today, Scott.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks for inviting me on.
So I think I would like to know, so that video was from early April, as you heard. She was referencing March Madness. The fallout kind of continues. Can I ask what your reaction out of the gate was to a transgender TikTok star kind of getting on the Bud Light bandwagon?
Look, I mean, all beers are queer, and brands like Bud Light have been sponsoring Prides for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember it starting when I was in my early 20s in the 1990s. There I go, I've just shown my age. But, this is not new. It is just what it is. And, again this year, this weekend coming in Toronto, the gold sponsor of Pride is Bud Light. And then in August in Montreal, again, the great partner is Bud Light. And so what's new is not so much that the brands use trans or queer influencers. What's new is the fact that the groups on the right are trying to pick a fight. Taking on brands who spend dollars with the queer community, or for that matter, any diverse community. The real mistake and trip up here was not that they used Dylan Mulvaney, but actually the lukewarm centre of the road, frankly weak response that AB InBev, the owners of the Budweiser brand, gave, which satisfied neither those who were against the Dylan Mulvaney use, nor the queer community who felt that they weren't being defended, that the brand didn't double down.
Right. You've seized upon exactly what I was thinking, Scott, which is that they've managed to peeve off everybody. I mean, so they've made people who are transphobic, homophobic, not want to buy the brand, and now they've made people who have bought the brand because they support Pride events and have this transgender TikTok star endorsing them. They've made them mad now. So is this brand now doomed?
No, I don't think it is. I think what we will see is a more muted response until the furore dies down. But they're certainly not cutting their dollar expenditure in the queer community anywhere in the world. What I think is a risk, though, here is that other brands will look at this and go, ooh, maybe we need to be a little bit careful. And, the thing is, they should have been careful in the first place. If your brand strategy involves DEI, you want to reach out to communities and engage with them in an authentic way, then do it, but then stick to your guns when you do it. The problem was that AB InBev, Budweiser, signaled they were a target for this amplification of a right-wing agenda, and they saw the possibility of amplifying their messaging for negative.
Right.
And that's a mistake that Bud Light made. They should have said, yeah, we're here, we're queer, get used to it, move on.
So why didn't they? Where did things go wrong here? Because to me, I'm with you again. That just seems like the only acceptable response and the only way to save face, and protect the consumers that you have, and maybe potentially get back the consumers that have left. What went wrong here, Scott?
Yeah, and I have no evidence for this, but my assumption here is that somebody went to do this piece of social media without it actually really hanging off the main core brand, Bud Light brand strategy. And when the backlash began, again, there was knee-jerk reaction without actually thinking it through. I dare say that I don't think in the first instances the leadership of Budweiser nor AB InBev, the parent company, properly worked with their crisis management agency, and actually then took the right advice to say, look, you've done it, you've been here, you've been involved with the queer community for decades across the world. Say, yeah, we're here, so what? But instead they panicked, they sat in the middle thinking we've got to play both sides, leaving both sides entirely dissatisfied.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I'm going to admit that I'm a little late to this party. Like, I'd seen the story, it didn't fully register with it, and I was just reading about it again yesterday, thinking, oh, all right, so they're feeling a direct impact on the drop in sales. But I don't have a sense. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, what I was going to say is that I've seen a lot of coverage over the past few weeks since the data came out that Bud Light was no longer the number one beer in the United States. There are media outlets who are calling this as a direct result of the Dylan Mulvaney influencer piece. That couldn't be more incorrect. This is because of a lukewarm response by management in not addressing authentically what they were up to as a brand. And because of that, it's not just those members of the straight community, the mass market, who've turned away from Bud Light. So has the queer community, saying we won't accept this.
So again, you anticipated my next question, which is exactly that. Like, I normally have a pretty good sense of what's going on in the community. I don't over this. So the community has reacted in turn by saying, you're not fooling us, and we're not going to drink your beer either.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, actually, PrideAM, we're about to launch a campaign where we want people in Montreal, in Toronto, wherever they see a Pride, where we know Bud Light's going to be, to go up and expect to have proper brand recognition of how they support the queer community. Otherwise, we will be shouting out, your beer is queer, get used to it. Because you've taken our dollars, you've taken our pink money off the table. And we expect a respect and we expect authenticity. And if you don't do this, we're going to start calling you out.
Will you get that?
I don't know. I think the interesting thing will be whether, all this expenditure by Bud Light on the different prides around Canada and around the world, was this all signed up and contract signed before the Dylan Mulvaney fiasco? And so what will be really telling is whether the Bud Light brand stays with the queer community next year. If it doesn't, This is an absolute signal of inauthenticity and a fearful brand that really doesn't know what it's doing.
Money talks, right? Like that's all that's going through my head. I don't even know that it's going to come down to doing the right thing or having the right values. I think it's going to come down to money. What do you think, Scott?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for any brand, marketing to any target audience, it always comes down to, we do this activity, what's the effectiveness of it? Did we sell more product? But these beer brands have been spending money in the queer community for over 20, 30 years. And so the dollars talk. The investment into our community is giving them return on investment. They've got to work out next, does that continue, or have they already burned their bridges? And I'll be watching it with a real sense of purpose and understanding what has happened here. I mean, the real shame of it is losing brands spending money towards our community. And all it took was this misstep by one beer brand. That would be a real shame.
You know, I'm thinking, so they've peeved the queer community, they've peeved the right-wing community, and now they're actually going to peeve the middle ground. So, like, I'm a straight gal with a whole lot of queer friends, and I'm thinking, and I've always liked Bud Light, and I'm thinking, maybe I can choose another brand. Maybe I won't be drinking Bud Light either. So there you have it.
Absolutely. It comes down to, regardless of our sexual orientation or gender orientation, we see authenticity. This is the key to it. From, marketing for the past 5 to 10 years has been about being authentic. Mm-hmm. And we've seen PepsiCo, we've seen now Bud Light, other corporations misstep as they try to navigate being authentic with the community. If you can't get it right, don't touch it. But if you do want to do it, there's dollars on the table. And if you don't pick them up, your competitors will.
So well said. Yeah, you can't fake being authentic. I so appreciate your time today.
You absolutely can't.
You cannot. Thank you for your time, Scott. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care.
Happy Pride Month. That is Scott Knox, founder of Pride in Advertising and Marketing, PrideAM.
I have a dumb question.
Yeah, what's the dumb question?
Why can't you just sell beer? Why do you have to identify with the community? Just, this is our beer, you like it, drink it. And for the people who complained about the ad, doesn't it seem to you like the response from Bud should have been simply get over it and move on?
Yeah, but that's the whole point here, and that's exactly the point. Bud blew it. They should have just said, no, just, do you like our beer? Then drink it.
Yeah, well,
and other people like our beer too, and they drink it.
Doesn't require a great deal of analysis, right?
The whole
at the
problem
end of the day.
here. Bud Light blew it.
Yeah.
They were inauthentic. They tried to play both sides of the game, and they're the big losers.
Be curious to see how this pans out in like 6 months from now. If we're still going to see there's some people go back to drinking the beer they always drank. That wraps up another edition of The Week That Was here on the iHeartRadio Network. I'm Aaron Rand along with Natasha Hall, and we will see you next week.
Have a fantastic week.
This has been the Montreal Now podcast with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall.
Listen live on your radio weekday afternoons from 2 to 6
on CJAD 800
or through the iHeartRadio app.